Hey guys, this is Steve and I help everyday people learn to become online entrepreneurs. So today's video is going to be a little bit different than what I've posted in the past because we're going to be sharing parts of our story and the peaks and valleys of what we've went through. And that's my reason for doing this, is to hopefully encourage you to look at your own life and see those points in your life that's led you to where you are today. And that you'll be able to maybe look and see what you've done in the past and what you can do better in the future, and get you started on your path to online entrepreneurship. So today's video is going to be a little bit difficult for me because I'm going to be sharing with you some things, that moments in our life that some of them were kind of unpleasant for us. But I'll also be sharing some things that good came out of it. So hopefully you'll get that, and that'll come across as well. So our story started in 1999, June. I graduated from technical college and just started right away with a large retailer in our area in their help desk, working with internal people of the company. So if a computer wasn't working, they would call us. If a printer wasn't working, they would call us, and we would help fix that. So that was in June. In August of '99, we bought our first home in preparation for getting married. We got married in September of '99, and we had a new home, and so we needed furnishings for that home. So we went out and we bought a bunch of stuff for our house, and which is what you do. You can't have an empty house. So June graduated. August bought our first home. September we got married. October, neither one of us had a really good car. My wife had an accident, right, no fault of her own, but her car got totaled, so we were down a car, and that was right before we got married. So we went out and got a car in October, brand new. In November, a friend of mine from technical college called me and said, "Hey, I'm working at this telecom company. Why don't you come over and work here with us?" So the Monday after Thanksgiving, I started there. And so that was kind of the last week of November. I was there for a couple weeks. And on December 8th, I'll never forget it, my supervisor, when I got in that day, he said, "Hey, can you come into my office? And I want to talk to you." I said, "Sure." So we went in. He said, "Actually, we weren't supposed to hire you. There was a hiring freeze. Somehow the paperwork got messed up. So you need to go with these two nice ladies, and they're going to explain to you everything." But basically, I was out on the street in a moment's notice at the beginning of December. And by the way, the job that I went to, the telecom company, was quite a bit of an increase from where I was working at before. So the first week of December, we went out and got everybody Christmas presents, and we got everybody good Christmas presents. We wanted to share our wealth, or whatever you want to call it. So here it was, December 8th, the second week of December, and I was out of a job. So the rest of that month, we pretty much just let things ride, and if we needed any extra, we just used one of our credit cards to make up the difference. So then in January of 2000, everybody, you kind of remember where you were. If you're old enough, you remember where you were during Y2K and what was going to happen there. Well, this is that time in our life. Early January of 2000, I started at a local factory working in their maintenance department, doing the technical stuff. And so I was there for 3 months, and I got a call from my supervisor from the telecom company and said, "Hey, come in tomorrow, fill out some paperwork for you. I got some paperwork I need you to fill out." So I said, "Okay, I'll be up in the morning." I went up, I filled out the paperwork, handed it to him, and he said, "Well, come in tomorrow, ready to work." And I'm like, "What? What's going on?" He said, Well, I didn't feel right about what happened. So as soon as the hiring freeze is over, you were the first phone call that I made. So that was awesome. I was back in at the telecom company making good money, and I went into that job. I just wanted to keep my head down, make sure nothing. We'd already been through the ringer because of everything I've explained to you so far, and I just wanted to do my job and just let things lie. So that was early 2000. We 2001. There was a time in the telecom industry that there was some investigations going on with this one certain company, but that investigation led the powers that be to look at the whole industry, and it was found out that all telecom companies pretty much were cooking their books, showing positive on this side, negative on this side, and it just wasn't adding up. And I'm not an accountant for them, so I have no clue, but that's just basically the gist of it. So the whole industry took a nosedive, and that was early to mid 2001. And then later that year, in September, of course, one of the worst times in our country's history, 9/11 happened, and I'm sure if you're old enough, you remember where you were when that happened. So along with from everything going on with the telecom industry, then the economy after 9/11, early 2002, our company decided they needed to downsize and to survive, basically. And so I think there was about 8,000 people that were laid off in early 2002. And I think I was about the third wave of that. And but there again, I was out on the street, and I was pretty much, I didn't know what I was going to do. And to the grand scheme of things with this, is that I was laid off for about a year and a half because I was in telecom, and no company in the telecom industry was hiring. So I was pretty much stuck. But don't feel too bad for me, because at the time I was kind of naive about the whole thing, and I just put my head in the sand, and I was like, man, all right, I am free. I don't have to work, and I can just take it easy for a while. And for the first 6 months of that time, pretty much my buddy and I were playing Xbox, sitting on the couch playing, every day, all day, while my wife was out working. So, I was oblivious. And so it got to be somewhere around the year time frame when I was off that we were, my wife was doing the accounting, and so she was aware. I'm sure she was telling me. I just don't remember her telling me this, but there got to be a time when we had no groceries, and our electricity was getting ready to be turned off, and I was like, wow, how did this happen? What, I thought we were having fun, and I was the only one having fun. So we had to quickly figure out what we were going to do, and we got some help from friends and family, and I got that taken care of. And then I realized, I probably should try and get a job. And so that was late 2003. So I started really searching, and I was like, I don't want this to happen again. So what industry do I want to move into? I can't do telecom anymore because that's just pretty much up in the flames. So I thought, the banking industry, the banks, they just always open branches, and you never hear about banks having problems. So I'm going to go get a banking job. And that's what I did. I went with one of the largest ones in our area and got a job there, and was making the most money I'd ever made in my life up to that point. And we were on Easy Street again. So I really didn't worry about all those bills, things that we had been, I had accumulated, and we had everything covered, and like I said, making good money. So that went well. And again, I did the same thing there. I really wanted to kind of keep my head down, my nose clean, and just do my job. Let me come in and put in my time, and then go home. And we we were doing well at that point. We kind of got put all that stuff behind us. Well, if you're old enough again to remember, about 2008, the whole too big to fail thing happened, and the banking industry took a nosedive and it tanked. And so late 2008, my supervisor came to me and said, hey, we need to have a talk. And they ended up laying off about 5,000 people at that time. So there again, I was out on the street. And this one, I think I was unemployed for about a year. And so we just sort of lived on our credit cards if we didn't have money for that month, and we just kind of did that. And so we went to about 2010, early 2010. I took a job with one of our local cable companies working in the business side and business to business technical stuff. And so that job was okay at first. It was not as much money as I'd been made at the bank, and so I was a little bummed about that, but it was a job and we were making ends meet and all that stuff. So but the thing about that job is that the longer that we were there, the worse it got, because from the time that I started until the time that I left there, they kept on pulling people out of our department but increasing the work. And so by the time that it was all said and done, each of us that were there, and there weren't too many left by the end, but each of us that were there were doing the work of about 5 people. And so it was a highly stressful job, and for less money than that I had been making. And so it was just very rough. It got to the point where our upper management decided there's only a few people left in this location, so we're just going to shut this down and move all that work to another state. And so late 2002, 2003, something like that, or 2012, 2013, sorry. They shut that down, and I was out on the street yet again. And by this time, working in the corporate world, I'm pretty much done with working in the corporate world by this point, because it's just like these highs and lows and highs and lows. Man, my nerves were shot. My wife's nerves were shot. She just freaking out by this time. We've been married by that time 14 years. And of those 14 years, if you add it all up, about 3 to 3.5 years of that, I was unemployed. And so we were living strictly on her income, plus whatever we needed to pull off the credit cards. So as you can imagine, by this time, we were heavily in debt. We got a house, we had a car, we were upside down on that car, just to tell you that. And then all 2, 3, I really don't remember at the top of my head how many credit cards we had. I know we had at least 2, maybe 3, and they were pretty much maxed out. And so it was a pretty bad time for us right there. And I had to start doing a lot of soul searching and trying to figure this thing out. So that's kind of the bad news. But if it's okay, let me back up a little bit, and I want to tell you some of the good news things, of some of the things lessons I learned along the way, and hopefully that you'll understand. I know that I'm not unique, and I'm not the only one that things like this happen to. People get laid off every day. This is just our story, and hopefully it'll resonate with you. And by the time we're done with this video, give you some encouragement as to what you can do. So let's get on with the good stuff. So now that we've got all that bad stuff out of the way, let's talk about some of the good things. And some people say that they wouldn't do it all over again, and I sort of kind of feel that way, but because it's brought me to where I'm at today. But of course, if I had it to do all over again, I wouldn't have gotten laid off 3 or 4 times and been without work for 3 to 3.5 years of our marriage. But like I said, it's kind of led us to where we are today. And hopefully we're smarter. We're for sure older, and maybe a little bit wiser than we were when we first started out. So with all that behind us, let's share with you some of the good things that happened, some of the lessons that we learned, and hopefully by the end of this video, this portion of the video, you'll be able to apply some of the lessons that we learned as well and help you. So heard about all the bad stuff. I think it was around 2006 or so. We found a group of people that were doing some MLM stuff, and became good friends with them, and we did an MLM for several years. And so let me talk to you a little bit about MLMs. Some of them are great and outstanding companies. Some of them are not so great and outstanding companies. So you have your good ones and your bad ones. And you have to do your due diligence. If you're thinking about getting involved in an MLM, you really need to research and find one that fits for you. The group of people that we were with fit us well. We have some lifelong friends that we met there. The company that we were representatives for was kind of mediocre, if you want to say that. There's some good things about it and some bad. But during that time, we were exposed to some new information. And I really think that when it boils down to it, the average everyday person like you and I aren't always given the right information. We were taught in school, go to college, get a job, work that job, and retire from that job, and then you'll be taken care of after retirement. And that was true back in, like say, well, for my dad, my parents' era. But in today's day and age, it really doesn't work out that way. And so I think it really just boils down to the information that we're given. If we have to be in search and be like a sponge of learning the right and proper information. And once we have that, we'll have the tools and the ability and the intellect to make smart choices. So we did well in the MLM company that we were with, and we made some money, and we're doing okay. But the value that I got from that time in our life wasn't from the MLM and the money we were making. It was with being exposed to the people and the thoughts and the ideas that they were conveying. And we learned a lot about leadership, how to deal with different personalities, opened our eyes to there is a bigger world out there than what we had been living up to this point. And so it was a huge time of, we grew a lot in those few years. Probably, let's just say that we were involved during that time about 3 years, and it's probably a little bit longer than that. We probably got a 9 years worth of information and education while we were there and involved with the folks there. So we had a mentor that had not only his interest in mind, but also ours. And I will be forever grateful to those folks that I would consider my mentors at that time, because they really explained to us what the bigger picture was. And it wasn't really so much about going to a 9-to-5 job and doing that for the rest of your life. You want to have something nice for your family, and so you don't have to be in debt anymore. And so all of that sounded really good. So we did that for a few years, and we through that, we were given some information about debt and the reasons why you shouldn't have debt, and different things like that. So let me say right now that had I been listening to my wife from the get-go, we probably wouldn't even have been in the situation that we were in, because she is very frugal and I'm a spendthrift. So today we kind of balance each other out. But at the time I wasn't paying attention to her, and I thought I knew what was best, and this is what we're going to do. And my personality too, is you'll find out if you get to know me from being on the channel, is that, I'm not afraid to jump off the cliff. I expect there to be a branch for me to grab onto, or a soft landing for me to land on. I'm ready to go. My wife doesn't even want to look at the cliff. She doesn't want to know anything about that. She'd be much rather be at home, safe. All right, so that's just a little bit about, and you'll see my personality is just, go, let's do it. Shoot and aim later. We just want to get started and go, and don't have a plan. Okay, so that's kind of what got us in that situation. So I learned, and so I was reading this book one day, and I was like, wow, this is like amazing. This is like the light bulb finally came on for me, and I was like hanging on every word that this, and today I wish I could tell you what the name of that book was. It was only about this thick, but I've looked for years now to find that book, because I want to reread it and see what, because I just remember that it was a time in my life, it just like boom, exploded, and I was like, wow. And so I went to my wife. I said, read this. Look what this says. This says we should do this, 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 and this, and this, and this. And with just the coldest stare that you could imagine, she said, that's only what I've been telling you for the last 5 years. I was like, oh, yeah, maybe. Were you? And so that, she still tells me, mentions that to me, today. It's like, oh, if you would have listened. And so, but at least my light bulb came on. I wasn't totally a dimwit, there was some redeeming value. And so we read that, and she was all on board of getting out of debt and things. So that mentor group led us to this other program, and I was able to kind of read through that and get some strategic things that we needed to do. And so through that time, we were able to pay off, I think, all of our credit cards, which was somewhere around $42,000. And we did that in record time for us. Maybe you've had that much and paid it off quicker. I know that I've heard of other people doing it, but I think in like a year and a half, no longer than 2 years for sure. And so we just kind of nose to the grindstone. We just did it because we had to do it. And we didn't do anything as far as entertainment. We did our jobs. We come home. We paid our bills. And that was pretty much it as far as financial goes. We just took every penny that we had, and we applied it to this bill. When that bill was paid off, we moved it to the next bill, and we just continued to pay off and pay off and pay off. And so what we did do is we gave ourselves some rewards. Okay, if we pay off this one bill, then we're going to splurge and we're going to go out to dinner. And it wouldn't be just any day. It wasn't a steak dinner, because we didn't want to spend that money. We went to someplace like a fast food restaurant and got their $4 menu. And that was our treat. And then it was back to eating at home and saving money and don't spend it and paying off those bills. And so we just really, during that time, we contracted and just took everything we could, we put towards getting out of debt. And so we got out of debt. We got that car that I told you we were kind of upside down on earlier, and got that taken care of, but we still had a car payment. And so it took us a while to get to the point to where we didn't have a car payment. I think that probably, aside from the house, has been the longest running thing. So, we finally have gotten to the point to where there's no cars, no credit cards, and, so we're, happy about that. But I really want to kind of go back and talk to you about the mentorship that we had. And they pointed us to that program, and then they pointed us to this other program, and there was some adversity there, some things in MLM industry. There's always some things coming in and going out, and so we had a little bit of a fluctuation in the industry that everybody felt. And so that was about the time that I decided, I had had all that stuff going on with my work being up and down like this. I didn't want to be in that environment anymore. So we decided to leave the MLM industry, and I didn't do anything for a while. But even on my mentor, when he was talking to me, because back in the day, it was talk to your friends and get them to come to a meeting, and talk to your family, and give them a call and say, hey, I'm coming over and we're going to talk about this, and I'll tell you what it is when we get there, and all these things that I absolutely hated. And all the while I was telling two specific mentors of mine that, hey, we really need to look at the online stuff. My friends that I have influence with is very small compared to online. There's millions of people, billions of people in the world, and so why not tap into that resource rather than my 10 friends that I know? And when they saw me coming, they'd turn and run the other way because they thought that I was going to try and pitch them a sale or something, So, even then, so I told them when I left, I said, I appreciate everything that you've taught me, and the lessons that I'd learned, and the leadership, and how a character is important, and the decisions you make are not just decisions for you and your family, but it affects other families and all that stuff, and we learned that, and I was appreciative of that. But I really wanted to, I thought at the time, I said, you know what, my future is online. And so we parted ways, and we parted ways as friends. Some of those folks we haven't seen since, and that's a disappointment. But, they're still going gangbusters and doing well, and we're doing good, so we're all happy. So there for a while I didn't do anything. I just kind of I looked at other MLM companies. I studied their compensation plans and saw, but I didn't really see anything that was much different than what we did. And I thought that what we had was pretty much top of the line, as good as it was going to get, unless you went to the super high dollar ticket price stuff. And I really didn't want to get into that. So I just kind of checked on the online stuff. I looked into blogging, and I looked into setting up a WordPress site, and those kind of things, and found out about this thing called YouTube, and I was like, I don't really know if I want to get in front of a camera. At that time, it was just funny, stupid videos when it first started, and it was just kind of wasn't really what it is today. And so I kind of just dismissed that real quick, and so then MySpace came along, and we all know about that, and it bit the dust, and I don't know, it's actually might still be up, I don't know. And but then Facebook came along, and we all jumped on that, and and the Instagram and Twitter and all these things, social media just exploded. And that's when, I don't know, if it was some good timing or what, I don't know, but I told them that the future was going to be online, and I meant that for myself, but I think you could really say today that's the case for, if you really want to be an entrepreneur and do it, that's open for anybody to do, online is the way to go. And that's my belief. I've believed that for years now. And so anyway, so we were able to pay off our credit card debts. That was a minor miracle in our life. We paid off our cars and all that stuff. So we were doing well. So I don't want you to think that it's not all doom and gloom. And so everything that I have looked through, and I've said this on another video, that I've looked through every program. If you name off a name, I have looked at their program and to see what it is. And I found that there are pieces missing from each one. And I don't think it's done purposely. I just think that maybe they just think that that's kind of automatically you should know how to do that portion, or it's not important to them. So maybe it's, but either way, every program that I've seen, there's something missing. And so I have had to kind of cobble together my own idea of what it is. And that's the whole point of this channel, is to share that with you and get your mind kind of rolling. Is that, and believe me, I don't have all the answers. And that's that's the number one reason why I created this channel, is so that we can have, grow together, make new friends, grow together, and so that you can be successful, I can be successful, and we learn from each other. And so I'm going to share with you what I know, whatever it is. Things I may show you could be right for you, or they could be wrong for you. They are what's worked for me, and so that's why I'm doing it. So you look at the things that I have, and you might find that there's holes missing too. And if so, I encourage you to dig and be a researcher. That's what I've had to learn to do, and become a researcher. I wanted it all sort of in this nice, neat, and I was willing to pay money to have it all in this nice, neat bundle. And no matter how many I've looked at and I've tried, there has always been something missing. And so, maybe that's not going to be your experience, and I hope it's not. But either way, we have some really big things planned for this channel, and for those people that decide they want to grow and learn and take the journey with us. So just want to finish this video by saying that we have been on a journey from some bad things in our lives, and along the way we've learned some really good lessons. And I want to have, basically, this part of this channel will be a journal of where we've been and what we're starting now with the channel. It's fairly new, and we're just going to use it as a journal to weekly to show what our plans are. This is what I want to get done this week, and then maybe the later video in the week say, okay, here's what the plan was, and here's what transpired. And then so maybe I'll keep myself accountable, you guys keep me accountable, and then share with me, and I'll keep you accountable. So that's what partners do. And so I consider all the subscribers to my channel as a partner of this journey together. And so with that, I'll leave that. That's our story, and hopefully you found some value in it. Talk to you next time.